And welcome back to Livingston Parish News Weekly Show, a podcast brought to you by the Livingston Parish News. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news, and this is Around Livingston, where I sit down with this gentleman and we talk about what's going on, you guessed it, around Livingston. So I'm going to give him a second to introduce himself as we jump in. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. This is David Gray, news writer with the Livingston Parish News.
And today we have a wide variety of things, so hopefully I can find a good way to segue into the next thing as we go along here. But first and foremost, we were expecting something worse last Thursday than what actually happened. Those of you who might remember in late March for the parish council meeting, it was canceled due to lack of a quorum. Of course, they have to have 5 or more people. They only had 4. And so the meeting you had last Thursday had 54 items?
48.
48 items.
Yeah, close enough.
But it still just went through pretty efficiently, which is crazy. But one of the things that came out of that is, of course, a lot of back and forth at the parish council level and now at the state level with regard to carbon capture. A couple of projects going on in this area. The parish council passed some resolutions stating that they supported the carbon capture bills that are currently at the legislature, which would, I believe, reduce a lot of their ability to do.
Pretty much halt them.
Yeah. So
one for sure.
If you want to go ahead and discuss that.
Yeah, they just passed a resolution voicing their support, and those resolutions will be sent to committee members during this session. The Committee on Natural Resources and Environment, and basically those pieces of legislation, one was by Sherman Mack, the Albany representative, and the other one was Bill Wheat, the Ponchatoula representative, and they've been kind of some of the two lead state lawmakers on carbon capture, sort of wanting these companies to kind of put on the brakes a little bit and slow these projects down, because a lot of people feel like they've just been fast-tracked through this process. I mean, it wasn't, it was last year when we kind of first started hearing about this, and now these projects are, much further along since then. But two of the pieces of legislation by Sherman Mack is, let's see, House Bill number 453 and 454. So 454, this is probably the most significant one. This would force all of these proposed projects to go before the residents of that area. So they would have to then vote on that. So, for example, for the hubs in Livingston Parish, because like I said, there's 2 in Livingston Parish, 1 in North Holden, and then 1 underneath Lake Maurepas. They would have to go before the voters and then get the approval of the voters. And if they did not, according to this bill, they wouldn't be able to reappear on a ballot for another 2 years. So that's one piece of legislation. The other one is 453, which would basically force all of the carbon capture projects in Louisiana to be stored underneath the Gulf of Mexico. So that wouldn't allow for 2 of the projects, like I said, in Holden under Lake Maurepas. So from Mr. Bill Wheat, House Bill number 308, that would require a environmental impact statement for all the projects, but House Bill 267, that would put all projects proposed for Lake Maurepas under a 10-year moratorium. So that is probably the most significant one, because that's the Air Products project, which is, proposing to store the CO2 underneath Lake Maurepas. That's been the one that's drawn the most frustration and fears from residents and local officials. They've been very outspoken against it, worrying that it might permanently alter the lake, even though the company has stressed the safe and proven technology. Air quotes, I use that because that's been the words that they've been using throughout their attempts to sort of calm those fears. But so yeah, so those are the bills in a nutshell, and they'll be heard by committee, and then go through the regular legislative process.
Going to be interesting to see how those turn out at the state level and how that can impact us locally. So we'll be keeping an eye on those. Sticking in the governmental vein for just a second, there is a townhouse development in the Denham Springs area. A little controversial, kind of interesting. A lot of people worried about traffic. This is at the corner of Rushing Road and 4-H Club Road. I would also include Florida Boulevard in there because it's not very far, about 40 yards away from the spot. Some of you might know it. There's a racetrack there on the corner of Florida Boulevard and 4-H Club Road right by this development. This is that sort of triangular shaped lot. with big old ditches on either side. So tell us what the latest development is on that.
Yeah, this development has, for such a small development, it has there's been a lot of debate about it, but the city council recently approved the special use permit. These townhouse developments, they require special use permits in order to move forward. And it had been presented to the council 2 other times before its most recent meeting. And in both times, it got sent back to the zoning commission. The zoning commission has denied it all 3 times, even though the last time it was not a unanimous denial. One of the commissioners felt that it had, since this development, even though it's going to affect traffic in some way because they're adding 10 units, which would be, I believe they have to have 25 parking spaces. So you can say, potentially another 25 cars in that little area, that those 10 townhouse units would be going on an area that's less than 1 acre. So you can say that, yes, traffic will be affected in the area, but according to the city's building official, it has met all the zoning ordinances, all the laws that it's required to follow. So therefore, in this commissioner's view, denying it would have just been targeting that one development, and he didn't feel that he could do that. So that's why he voted against the denial. But like I said, the commission as a whole, they voted to deny it, but that was not the decision that the city council came to. They all kind of said the same thing, that yeah, we don't really want it. We feel like it's going to negatively affect traffic and drainage, but at the end of the day, it has met all the ordinances in place. But that's just the first step in the process. It's not like the development's going to be built tomorrow. They have to go through other steps before they'll actually get built. But that was just the next step that it needed to move forward, was to get that special use permit.
So, yet another thing, sort of moving forward, going to be interesting to see how that changes that corner. Staying in the Denham area, Springfest is coming up a week from this Saturday. We're recording this on Monday, excuse me, April 17th. Springfest is April 29th, which
Yep.
is a Saturday. So tell us about the lead up to that.
Yeah, no, that's just we just posted a quick write up on that this morning because that's one of the most popular events in Livingston Parish. I mean, they get thousands of people every year. You have Springfest and Fall Fest, the two big shopping events put on by the Merchants Association. This will be in Denham Springs Antique Village. You'll have 160 something vendors out there. All the shops in downtown Denham will be running. Special sales will be open. There will be live entertainment. There'll be food, kids activities. I think that they usually do like a kids free fun zone. So it's basically just kind of like a small fair for kids, and then for adults, it's a bunch of shopping. So like I said, this is one of the big events in Livingston Parish. So it should be a good time.
Yeah, it always is, and especially the first two Springfest and Fall Fest after COVID
Yeah.
had gone away have just been packed.
Yeah.
So going to be interesting to see if they can continue to carry the momentum. People were definitely ready to get outside.
If it doesn't rain.
Well, yeah,
That's always the thing they're watching for until the very end, is the weather.
right. And April is April showers.
Yeah.
So going to be interesting to see what happens from that standpoint. Speaking of shopping, going to the Jubin Crossing area, any kind of new business that comes is popular, but especially if it's food. And this is a brand name that was known in Baton Rouge. It's now coming to Jubin Crossing, and they do specialty cookies. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Crumble Cookies. You said they're based in Baton Rouge, and according to their website, this would be the 10th location in Louisiana. It's coming to Jubin Crossing. Yeah, that's pretty much it. These food stories don't take much to get a lot of attention from people, but this is they're known for the pink boxes. Apparently, I've never been to Crumble Cookies, even though I probably live like 2 miles away from the one on Segan Lane in Baton Rouge. But yeah, the another thing they're known for is they rotate their menu every week, so you have 6 new flavors every week. So that's a pretty cool thing. But yeah, I know that was a lot of people were excited about this Crumble Cookies coming to Jubin Crossing. It's just another one of those new restaurants. I believe what was it, the Andy's Frozen Custard that opened in Jubin Crossing. So they just have a bunch of new shops that are opening there, especially food shops.
Going to be interesting to see. I keep saying this is kind of, but it always is, to see how Jubin Crossing. A lot of the big retailers, some of them did okay, some of them didn't. But it does appear that smaller retailers in food, and of course Hobby Lobby, have helped. But Hobby Lobby, a lot of people don't know, is outside of the Economic Development District, being on the eastern side of Jubin Road. So they don't pay into the TIF, but they do draw a lot of traffic over there. So going to, a lot of new food coming to the Jubin Crossing area. Anything else you got for us before we?
No, just one quick piece. It'll be the lifestyle feature this week. Mr. Arthur Perkins, he was a longtime teacher, principal, city council man in Denham Springs. He passed away a couple years ago from after testing positive for COVID-19. And he was one of the most, you could say, influential figures in Livingston Parish during his time, especially for the African American community. He was a graduate of West Livingston High. That was an all-black school right there at, I forget the name of the street. Wait, is it Martin Luther King Drive?
Mhm.
Yeah, Martin Luther King Drive. He was where West Livingston High was before integration in 1970, and then he became the first black principal of an all-white school after integration. He was the principal at Albany High. He was named that in 1970, and that kind of came about after at first he was assigned, after having served as principal at West Livingston High, he was then assigned when integration came to be a teacher, but through a lawsuit, it was ruled that Livingston Parish he couldn't be uh, downgraded back to a teacher. He had to be promoted or kept as a principal, and so he was a principal of Albany High, but also a longtime city councilman. I believe 9 terms. Yeah, nine terms in office,
as well as an interim term.
Yes, interim term. So obviously a highly regarded individual, well-respected man. The new pavilion, we talked about it last week, the Municipal Oaks Pavilion. The little street right in front of it is now named Arthur L. Perkins Senior Circle, and that was just something that the city council, they wanted to honor him in some way. Like I said, one of the most highly regarded people that I've met covering since I've been covering Livingston Parish, and I know you knew him longer than I did, being your family's history with the paper, and you could look back and you can look through our website, and Arthur Perkins' names comes up a lot over the years with everything that he was a part of, and his family was there, his widow was there, his son spoke, gave a really moving speech about his father. Some of the council members spoke. Robert Poole, he called him, Mr. Perkins, the council's moral compass. Just kind of shows that how the others thought of him as well. So that will be the lifestyle feature this week. I wanted to hold off on that story because I wanted it to have its own page, because I felt like that story on Mr. Perkins deserved that.
Yeah, a very resilient man, and very very well respected,
and a veteran. He was also a veteran too. Forgot that. He was I believe he retired as a lieutenant. He served for in the Army for 20 years. So yeah, just man who did everything. And the one thing that his son said that I really thought was special was, given his education and military training, he could have lived anywhere in the world, but he chose to live in Denham Springs because it was a city he loved. So I just thought that was a special sort of way to remember Mr. Perkins.
Oh, absolutely. And that it's a good tribute to him, and I'm sure it makes his family proud.
Yeah,
to see that. So, well, thank you, sir. If you'll introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, this is David Gray, news writer with the Livingston Parish News.
And my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys for joining us for the Livingston Parish News Weekly Show. This is Around Livingston. It's where we talk about what's going on around Livingston. Please remember the news is on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube once a week, in print on Thursdays at $7 a month to get that in your mailbox. We're also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. One last time, appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you next time.